Hey guys and girls, my name is Alan and welcome to today's video. As you can tell from the title on the screen, today I'm going to be covering my top 5 loadouts for Uncharted 4 Survival. Primarily I'm going to be talking about Arena, but the classes do apply and do work quite well in stages as well. So I think top 5, I suppose in general, is a fair statement. This video follows on from a video that I did a couple of weeks back. Basically, I did a top 10 tips video for Uncharted 4 Survival, and in that video I talked about all the things that I think were crucial to succeeding, not only in Arena but in the stages as well. So check out that video, I'll link it on the screen now, I'll also link it in the description. Obviously I'm biased, but I thought it was quite a good video. It took me a long time to put together and it went up a lot later than I thought it would do, but I had fun making it and it's the first video that I made of its type, and as I enjoyed making it, so I thought I'd do this one as well. You know, just to share some insight into how I approach the game, but also hopefully, you know, if you're looking to pick up a few tips, then these videos might be able to help you out. Right, so without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at number 5, I've got the Medic, and as the name suggests, this class is all about being the team medic. In this loadout, I have Quick Healer, I have Helping Hand, Enhanced Radar, Steadfast, and Mystical Expert. Now, I'm going to talk more detail about the individual boosters towards the end of the video because some of them do overlap across the loadouts. But the reason why I've chosen those specific ones for this particular class is because Quick Heal, obvious, if you stay alive, you can help revive other players. Helping Hand, so you can revive other players quickly. Enhanced Radar helps you to see the safest approach route to a downed enemy player, but it also helps you to navigate around the map, so it helps you stay alive. Therefore, if your teammates do need to be revived, you're alive to do so. Steadfast, really useful for reviving players, especially under fire. Things like grenades and explosions can knock you off course, so having Steadfast means that this doesn't happen. And then the final one, Mystical Expert. Now, I don't know if you've seen it, but quite a few players have started to, instead of buy a team revives from the chest when like players are down across map, for example, they'll just buy a Path of Indra, fly over to them, well, teleport over to them, and then that'll start the revive process on that down player. So if you can't get to them in time, but you don't want to buy a team revive or potentially buy a team revive because they've died, then buy a Path of Indra, use it as soon as you can, get over to where they are, and you can pick them up that way. And by bringing this booster along, you can buy them a bit more cheaper from the chest, which means you can use them more frequently throughout the course of a single match. Coming in at number 4, I've got the Hit and Run class, and this one is all about running and hitting enemies. Basically, I treat it a bit like an OBJ class, so obviously I brought along Quick Heal, which is mandatory for being able to recover, especially during objective waves. You don't really want to go down because it will cost you time, and if you're trying to get stars, it's a nightmare. Speedy G, which enables you to go around the map a bit faster, so you can not only run away from enemies quicker, which is not really the purpose of bringing it along, but more importantly, you can run around and collect treasures faster, and you can also potentially get to teammates if they need assistance. But again, that's not really the goal of this loadout. To complement Speedy G and to obviously make up the second part of the title of the loadout is Prize Fighter. Now the reason why I bring along Prize Fighter is because for the stages in particular, sometimes you get melee only modifiers. You get that during Arena as well, so this will help with completing those waves. But also, I find that if you run around and melee enemies whilst you're doing the objective, it's generally a bit quicker than shooting them, especially if there's modifiers in place such as headshots only. And as I said, time is of the essence when it comes to most objectives. And then to complement the other two, I've also got Silent Assassin. Now, Silent Assassin, when it first came out, I thought it was a really good perk, but the more I've used it, the more I've realised that it's kind of a selfish perk. Because when you get a kill using this booster, enemies will basically drop aggro off you, so they'll concentrate their fire on the other two players on the field. Now, that's great if you're that player who's dropping aggro, but it sucks for your teammates, and so being a co-op sort of game mode, it kind of defeats the objective, I think, in my opinion. If it was the fact that enemies would just stop shooting in general, then that's fine, but if they turn their attention away from you and start shooting at your teammates are going to be under a bit more pressure, and at the end of the day, that could cause them to go down, and that makes it harder for you. So in general, I think this is a good perk to bring along for this particular loadout because it helps you complete the objectives better and uninterrupted. But in terms of general gameplay, I've stopped using it because it's kind of a selfish perk and it doesn't really promote the whole team play aspect of the co-op, you know. Coming in at number 3, I've got the Soloer. Now the reason why I've called it the Soloer is because originally this class was designed for me attempting to complete the stages on my own, hence why solo. There's a few variations for this loadout, and the two that I use quite frequently are the ones I'm going to show on the screen now. So the first one, I've got Quick Heal, which I've already talked about, Enhanced Radar, again talked about already, and Steadfast, again talked about already. Now the two new ones are Dead Eye, which is really useful because if you're good at getting headshots, and you probably should work on this if you don't get headshots regularly, because you get a lot of money for it, but also, well, okay, not a lot of money, but you get more cash for getting headshots with this booster, but also you deal a lot more damage to enemies, and if you can kill enemies quicker, that helps you overall in terms of the match. and then to round the loadout off, you've got several options, as I said. Now the one I've showed on the screen here is Mystical Healer. Now the reason why I brought Mystical Healer along is because I thought if I could revive teammates and I'm under fire, then the spectres that come out will basically attack enemies and do some damage. I mean, it's okay to use. I don't know if I'd use it all the time, which is why it's at number 3 spot. And then the other alternative that you could use is Helping Hand. And again, this is to coincide with me having to pick up the AI buddy because they would go down more frequently than I would. But it works in public matches as well, so give them a try, figure out if you enjoy using it or not. But for me, it's a solid number 3 spot. It's definitely not any higher than that with this particular loadout. Just missing out on the top spot, I've got Headshots and Lock and Load. Funnily enough, this was actually my original first place loadout before Steadfast was released. So if you'd asked me a couple of months ago, this is the loadout I would use on a regular basis for both stages and for Survival Arena. So 3 of the boosters you've already seen brought in from a previous loadout. So you've got Quick Heal for quick healing, obviously. You've got Deadeye for extra headshot damage and extra cash. And then you've got Enhanced Radar, so you know exactly where enemies are at all times, allowing you to better kill them in a more efficient manner, basically. In addition to those, we've got Hardened and Lock and Load. Hardened goes hand in hand with both Lock and Load and Deadeye because Hardened basically reduces the amount of pain wobble you receive when you get hit by enemy shots. Now, I can play without Hardened, that's not a problem, but having it on just makes the game so much easier, and so I find myself using it just because, as I said, it makes the game easy mode basically. And also it works hand in hand with Deadeye because if you can land headshots consistently, as I said, you'll kill enemies more efficiently, but you'll also earn more cash doing so. And Lock and Load is something, again, you can live without, but it just makes the game a bit simpler, and especially using it in conjunction with Hardened and Deadeye. Lock and Load is useful for 2 reasons. The first one is that every time you land a headshot, a bullet is taken from your reserve and put back into your magazine. So effectively, if you land consistent headshots and kill enemies consistently, you'll never have to reload. And that's the second part of Lock and Load. If you do kill an enemy, ammo is automatically added to your magazine. I think it's up to like 30% or something at level 2. So it's a really useful perk to have. When I first started using Lock and Load, I thought it was going to replace ammo when you got a headshot or when you got a KO. That's not the case. It takes it from your reserve. So at some point, you are going to drop down to a single clip. However, on that final clip, if you manage to consistently get KOs and get headshots, you'll never run out of ammo effectively. But on higher difficulties, and in particular with tougher enemies, it's very hard to maintain that. But on lower difficulties, it's actually quite fun because effectively you can use the same weapon for a really long time, just mow through crowds of enemies and never have to reload your weapon at all. So it's really fun to use. But as I said, it is no longer my number 1 spot. It is a good loadout and I would still be happy to use it. However, with the new boosters that have been introduced for the past couple of weeks and months, it does mean that I do have a different favourite loadout that I'm using instead. Coming in at the number 1 spot, I've got the Generalist. So called because it's basically a generic class that I can use on any map and pretty much any stage in Uncharted 4 Survival. As you can see, I bring on quite a few of the boosters that I've had in previous loadouts. However, this combination, I feel, in my personal opinion, and for my personal playstyle, just works. I mean, I've tried going back to some of the other classes, and I can use them, that's not a problem, but this one, I just keep getting drawn back to because it just works so well for my playstyle. So I'm going to give you a bit more of a detailed rundown of why I've chosen the ones that I've chosen. So I've got Quick Heal, and this is at level 2. The reason why it's at level 2 is because I feel level 1 is kind of pointless and level 3 is too expensive. So level 2 is sort of a happy medium. Same with Deadeye, level 1 is kind of pointless, but level 3 is too expensive. So 2 is a happy medium. I'll be honest with you, when Enhanced Radar was first announced and released, I was a bit... I don't know, I kind of frowned upon it a little bit, you know. It didn't make any sense to me that they would put in this boost that would give you intel on enemies, like locations, all the time, consistently. And, okay, so I guess, in a sense, I swallowed a bit of pride and I went with it and I used it. And, yeah, it is really useful, it is really helpful, and it makes the game easier, without a doubt. So if you want a challenge, don't put it on, but... if you're looking to put in a good performance, or maybe you just want a bit of a helping hand, then it's definitely a good booster to use, there's no doubt about it. And it's relatively cheap as well. 3 points to know exactly where enemies are at all times. You can see them spawning in, you can see them so you can avoid them to go to the objectives. And as I mentioned earlier, you can use it to traverse your way to a downed teammate or allies that need help, that sort of thing. And then, not only are you able to see enemies consistently, you can also see a larger section of the map. So if you're holding down a location and you know the enemy is probably going to try and flank in a certain direction, you can actually see them approaching way before you get a bigger picture of what's going on around where you are, not just your immediate location. So you can see if there's a brute or a choker that's approaching from distance. You can plan for that. You can evade if necessary. You know, it gives you that time and warning so that you can deal with the situation. Especially in higher difficulties, knowing where these tougher enemies are coming from can really help you stay alive. For myself, I mainly play solos and pubs, so communication isn't a big factor. But if you're playing in a team of 3, only one person really needs to have this, so the other 2 can spend those other 3 points on something else. Maybe they go to the next level of a booster that they're currently using, or maybe they take a different booster entirely, so maybe they can work on the objectives, or maybe they can bring along helping hand or something to help heal you. So if you're communicating and using mics, only one person really needs to use this booster, and they can just give intel, assuming they can communicate well, to the other players in the team. I've already talked about the benefits of Hardened in the previous loadout, and again, this just works really well for me. I can live without it, and ironically, in multiplayer, like PvP multiplayer, I don't actually use it. I only use level 1, I don't use level 2 that often because it's just so expensive to bring along, and I play fine in there. But for survival, it just seems to work so well, and especially if you snipe quite a lot as well, because if you miss a shot of a sniper, then, you know, time to kill increases, but also you waste a precious bullet basically. Not only for sniping, but just shooting in general. I use my pistols quite a lot. ARs at mid to long range. If you have reduced flint, you can land a lot more bullets at distance. If you haven't yet tried it out, or if you don't use it that often, I'd give it another go. 30% or whatever it is might not seem a big value, but in actual gameplay that can make a huge difference to your accuracy and the amount of bullets that you land on enemy targets. I mean, don't take my word for it, try it out yourself. And as I said, it's one of those boosters that I can live without, but once I've started using it, it's very hard to not go back to it all the time, just because it makes the game so much easier. And then rounding off the list is Steadfast. Now, I mean, as I said, this is a booster that pretty much everyone used in Uncharted 3 co-op, and to see it come back in Uncharted 4, it was a no-brainer to put into action. I mean, reduced damage in general is good, but from explosives it's fantastic, and then no knockdowns as well. So not only do you take reduced damage from explosions, you can run away from those explosions, not have to worry about recuperating. Without the booster equipped, normally you get hit by an explosive and your character gets knocked over, and then gunfire comes in and then that's a down. Usually that's what happens. So having this booster allows you not only to survive the explosion in the first place, but also allows you to escape from that immediate area. And so that's why I think it's such a good booster and rounds off this loadout perfectly. And there you have it. That's my top 5 loadouts for Uncharted 4 Survival, mainly for Arena, but they do work in stages as well. As I said, these are the ones that work for me because I mainly play pubs and solos, and that's how I tailor my classes for those matches. However, these would work just as well in a party of 3. But having said that, as I mentioned earlier, if you are playing in a party of 3 or party of whatever, and you're communicating using microphones, then you don't all need to bring the same loadouts. So one person could bring enhanced radar, but then the other person can bring something else with those 3 points, and maybe that will help towards completing the objectives, for example, as long as obviously you're all communicating and the person who's got enhanced radar is constantly giving out information, because otherwise if they're just hoarding the kills or not really shouting out when there's a choker or a brute nearby, then they're not really doing their job, and you get the idea. Again, this video took a bit longer to put together than I thought it would do, but I enjoyed, you know, just talking about my loadouts, and if I've managed to give just one person a bit of advice or a bit of help, then that's fine. That's exactly what I wanted to get from this video. So yeah, go out there, as I said, try out some of these classes. These are the ones that I use, and I've found some great success with them, so hopefully you do as well. But as I said, it's all about experimentation. These work for me because of the way that I play. I'm quite aggressive, I aim for headshots, so this all works for me really well. However, as I said, if you're more of a support player, whether that's Overwatch in terms of taking up a sniper vantage point, or maybe you're in there being a medic because you're not too confident in getting kills, then these classes could work for you as well. It just depends on how you play. The bottom line is, there's no one rule fits everyone, but as I said, there are a few boosters in there that I would recommend to definitely have in your loadout. Whether you take them at a high level or a low level is entirely up to you, but I do think that some of them are better than others. Things like quick heal. Recovering faster is never a bad thing, it's only ever going to benefit yourself. And then Steadfast, taking reduced explosive damage and no knockdowns from explosions. Again, this is going to help you, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it doesn't matter what you're trying to complete. So, I mean, those 2 I would bring along regardless of the situation. But even bringing those 2 along, you've still got a lot of points to play around with, so I definitely experiment, and as I said, try out some of my classes, see what you think, and see how you go with those. As per usual, if you enjoyed the content, consider tapping the like button, I really do appreciate it. And as I said, if you haven't checked it out yet, I did do a top 10 tips video for Uncharted 4 Survival Arena. So check that out if you want to hear what I put as my top 10 list, and of course, let me know if you agree with my number 1 spot or not. Likewise with this video, do you have a different set of loadouts that you use on the regular that you think I should try out? Let me know in the comment section below, or if you agree or disagree with some of my choices, again, let me know below. But until next time, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, take care, and I will see you later.